No, demand is huge this
People
year.
Don't play with love.
No, people don't play with Valentine's Day. It doesn't. I think it defies.
You don't negotiate that, right?
No. Even last year and 2016, that were challenging years. People still did Valentine's. I think they just cut down on other things, but they do Valentine's.
Right. And in terms of where we're getting the supplies from, so I imagine, for instance, the roses are not grown in Nigeria, but to what extent is the supply domesticated in terms of flowers?
Okay, roses are not for this climate,
Right.
but they do grow in Jos. Jos is, I think, the only region that has the best climate for roses. Unfortunately, we do have a few farms in Jos, but they're not enough to for the local demand. So we rely on importation heavily. Right. So all these are important.
And typically, where do we get the supplies from?
The Netherlands.
Because I know Kenya, for instance, is also big in terms of exporting flowers.
Yes, the biggest flower market, the global warehouse for the flower market is in the Netherlands.
Right.
So when you want to order bulk, you go straight to the Netherlands. So even when you export to the Netherlands.
But are we seeing any of the flows from Kenya into Nigeria, for instance? Because, so much has been said about keeping, that African trade going. Are we seeing any evidence of that?
Yes, I think so, but really and truly, I mean, it's negligible. The greatest imports, because you see, it's not only roses, it's carnations, it's chrysanthemums. Like now, by today, there are no red roses available anymore. So people are going into other, so the idea is, let me just get flowers. So it's roses, chrysanthemums, carnations, lilies, so it's very wide.
No doubt this is a very important season for you. I imagine that this is the peak sales period for flowers. But how will you compare this season as a whole in terms of the commercial aspects of it compared to other seasons like Christmas? The Thanksgiving season, we've also seen, has really picked up in Nigeria, especially with the e-commerce businesses that are having a lot of promotions around that.
Well, apart from Christmas, I think for the florist and the gift business, Valentine's is huge, because people just give gifts and they give flowers. Those that can't give flowers give cakes. They give all sorts of gifts. And then it's not restricted to, you can give your colleague a gift. You can give anybody a gift. So it's quite, apart from Christmas, I think Valentine's is a big season. It's bigger than Thanksgiving. Bigger than Thanksgiving, definitely.
Right. And a lot is always said every year about how it has become so commercialized. Would you say it's getting bigger in terms of the Valentine celebration in Nigeria, even though we're seeing a decline in the, well, maybe not a decline, but very slow growth in the economy?
It's getting bigger. It grows every year. Even little children do Valentines,
right.
So it's commercialized so much so that I'm sure you will see children going to primary school wearing red and white today. So everybody celebrates Valentine, everybody, for different reasons. And I mean, I think what people are now trying to promote is the charitable aspects, be kind, help somebody. So that also goes into it. So that, I think it helps a lot because you're not only thinking of the love aspects, you're thinking of the charity aspects as well. So there's a lot of promotion around that, right. Give to an orphanage, give to somebody in need, buy lunch for somebody. So that's another good aspect of it.
All right. And I imagine that in Lagos today, for instance, we're going to feel the impact. The roads are going to be jammed, especially towards the evening. And so it's great to see that it has really created, that vibrancy in terms of, commerce and so forth. Definitely in the context of, what we've seen over the last 2 years in terms of an economic slowdown. So setting this season aside, I just want to get a perspective from you as a business owner. How has the economy been for you?
It's been interesting. I think when you have periods like this as a business owner, you just dig deep. You re-strategize. You use it as a period of rebranding and doing things properly. Another good thing that these kind of periods give you is that you look at where you can save money. So you find out that you now start running a lean organization. So expenses that you would have passed before you start to query. So it's tough, but you come out stronger. the organization comes out stronger.
Right. Let's go back to domesticating the supply of the flower. So you mentioned earlier that we can really only focus on Jos, but is that really the case? Because I do know that we have a couple of flowers that can grow even in the tropics, maybe not roses, but I imagine that if the industry can organize itself and focus more domestically, there could be demand. Or is this a case of the demand is just simply for the imported flowers and you can't compete?
No, it's that we are not doing enough. The global flower market globally is about $104 billion. Kenya does about $1 billion in flowers. That's part of their income. Now, in Nigeria, I think what scares us is the setup cost. To start this kind of business, the initial capital requirement is quite high, especially if you want to grow roses. They can grow in Lagos, but you just have to have specialized greenhouses with all the climate controls. Then the tropical flowers that we don't appreciate here are craved abroad. If you go to the flower markets abroad, people are looking for the heliconias, the birds of paradise that grow easily here. I even hear that we've started exporting hibiscus flowers to Mexico. You know, so there's an industry, but number one, the investment. Number two, the turnaround, because by the time you are grooming a plant, it's not going to yield you income maybe for the next 3 years for export. Then number three is what I call the quality that the export market requires. You know, they have very, very strict quality controls, so you cannot afford to export anything that is less than that. They will not accept it, and then you lose money. So those are the three major constraints, because as you know, we're really a short-term economy. Nobody wants long-term investment. So that's what's really affecting it, but it's doable.